Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh, everyone. Welcome to the first event of this year. We are blessed to be joined by Bhai Amandeep Singh Ji from East London. He is a Pracharak with basics of Sikhi, a lawyer by profession, a martial artist, and tries every day to become a better Sikh. Thank you so much for joining us today, Amandeep Singh Ji.
It's an honor and a privilege to be here. Welcome from the other side of the pond. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I'm not sure if I'm in the group or if it's just me and you talking. Are we all together?
Yeah, the Sangat is here. We're all here. Yep.
Oh, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. It's an honor and privilege to be here. I'm very grateful to have been invited by my brother to speak with you, having just entered 2021. Putting it a different way in measurement of time, for those that are old enough to know, it's 21 years since we were entering the new millennium. It's 21 years. It seems like just yesterday that we were in the 1900s, and now we're in the new millennium, and the time is going so quick. And I'm really grateful to have this opportunity to share with you and learn with you together today. Um, I've been told by my brother that there is a question box in this app which is completely alien to me. If I say anything that needs clarification, or if I say anything that is wrong, please feel free to send me a question. I've got the question box open here, and I'll try and review that every now and again. So, Guru Pyari Sad Sangat Ji, we're blessed to have this opportunity to learn together, and it's so important that we remain always grateful whenever these opportunities arise. There are so many people that are going through life aren't getting the answers to the questions that they have, and perhaps even more appropriately, spending their whole lives asking the wrong questions. And when we're blessed to have the company of the Gursikhs, when I'm blessed to be in your company, it's an opportunity for us to learn together, to reflect, to be inspired, and to grow. And I want to share something with you in 2021 that really, when I learned it, it changed my entire life. And it's something that I learned many years after I took Amrit, many years after I started to walk this path of the Guru. I'm still on the first step of many, perhaps below and behind many of the steps that you guys have already taken. And it's really something I'm really passionate and excited to share with you guys today. We go back 550 odd years to the time when Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, they were born into this world. And they come into this world, and from the youngest of ages, we hear from Nanak Prakash, we hear how Guru Nanak Dev Ji's face was so bright that it would light up the room, and the room was full of the room that they would be born into would be full of Prakash from their face. So much brightness would they bring into this world that even the chandeliers, which bore many candles, would be outshone by the brightness of the light from the face of Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj. And everybody would look at Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, and they would fall at Guru Nanak Dev Ji's feet, and they would want to become friends, and they would want to get their glance of grace upon their own faces, all but a few people. And those people that saw Guru Nanak Dev Ji in a different way were these people called the Siddhs. Now, the Siddhs, they were like holy ascetics, they were like Hindus, and they had, through their own spiritual prowess, they had obtained many spiritual powers. And in many ways, they were regarded as the spiritually advanced of that time, for they had obtained occult powers where they could fly, they could float, and they could do all such manner of things. And so the Siddhs would look at Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, who was revered and so popular from a young age. They would see that Guru Nanak Dev Ji would be an opportunity for them to obtain a bigger following. So they resolved from a young age that they would try and convert Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj into the ways of their own dharam, the ways of the Siddh. And so from a young age, they would come to Guru Nanak Dev Ji, and they would try and tempt Guru Nanak Dev Ji. They would try and trick Guru Nanak Dev Ji. They would ask Guru Nanak Dev Ji questions and show off their spiritual powers in a hope that through doing this, that Guru Nanak Dev Ji would be won over and be tempted by these powers that these people would have. And so they come to Guru Nanak Dev Ji, and every time they would come to Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Guru Nanak Dev Ji would see what they would be trying to tempt and show to Guru Nanak, and Guru Nanak Dev Ji would give an even higher teaching. They would be left scratching their heads as Guru Nanak Dev Ji would not be tempted by those trickeries, by those questions that the Siddhs would pose. And the Siddhs would walk away scratching their heads that how is it that someone who is so young has got so much wisdom that they are able to see through the falsehood of these temptations that they are putting at the feet of Guru Nanak. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji would do this each and every time that the Siddhs would come to Guru Nanak would send them away with questions about their own practices. And Guru Nanak was so cool, and they were so pure in their endeavors, that even when they did this and they would give a higher teaching, we can say. And Guru Pyari Sad Sangat Ji, a time would come when Guru Nanak Dev Ji would give the Guru Gaddi to Bhai Lehna being the second Guru, that perfect Gursikh, that one who is the form of humility. And so Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, they give the Guru Gaddi to Bhai Lehna. And when Bhai Lehna succeeds Guru Nanak Dev Ji, there are onlookers there that are seeing this. And they say to Guru Nanak Dev Ji, these onlookers, they say to Bhai Lehna, they say, Guru Nanak Dev Ji has given us so much. They have given us the Gur Mantar, Vaheguru. They have given us the Mool Mantar. They have given us the Maha Mantar. What is the teaching that you're going to bring into this world? What teaching is it that you will now bring, Bhai Lehna, Guru Angad Dev Ji? And Guru Angad Dev Ji, ever the most obedient and humble Gursikh, they go back to Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj. And they say to their Guru, who will forever be the Guru of the Sikhs, who will forever be the Guru of Guru Angad Dev Ji Maharaj, they say to Guru Nanak, they say, Maharaj, I'm being asked, what teachings am I going to bring into this world? And it was at this time that Guru Nanak Dev Ji, they say to Bhai Lehna, bring forth those teachings that I gave to the Siddhs. During the course of my life, these Siddhs would come to see me and they would question me and try and tempt me and trick me and convert me from this path of Vaheguru. Bring forth those teachings and bring them now before me. And Bhai Lehna, Guru Angad Dev Ji Maharaj would go and get those teachings, those parchiya, those pieces of paper with these short verses, with these teachings that were timeless written upon them. And they would bring them and they would give them to Guru Nanak. Guru Nanak Dev Ji would hand them to Bhai Lehna, to Guru Angad Dev Ji Maharaj. And they say, arrange these as you see fit. This will be the Mala Mantra. This will be the proclamation that you will bring into this world. Guru Pyari Sad Sangat Ji, those teachings, when they were brought together, they become what we now know and refer to affectionately as Japji Sahib da Path. You see, Guru Pyari Sad Sangat Ji, from a young age, we may have been taught to read Japji Sahib, but perhaps we were not told what, in fact, Japji Sahib actually is. Japji Sahib isn't just a part, isn't just a poem, isn't just the first angs of Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj. They are, in fact, the timeless teachings that were delivered to the whole of humanity through a lifetime's conversations between Guru Nanak and the Siddhs. Japji Sahib contains all of the most spiritually elevated teachings that Guru Nanak Dev Ji would give to those Siddhs that would come and try and speak to Guru Nanak Dev Ji of their own grandeur, of their own greatness, of their own abilities. If you like, we can put it a different way, that Japji Sahib is a collection of adventures, a collection of chronicles, a collection of episodes in the life of Guru Nanak. You can liken it, if you will, to a Netflix series, except it's far more beautiful and timeless, in the sense that the teachings contained in Japji Sahib are in fact those episodes from the life of Guru Nanak. And when you look at Japji Sahib this way with new eyes, you will see so much there to be taken that will inform us about our lives. You see, we've come into 2021. And as we enter this year, for some of us, this may be our second decade, our third decade upon this earth, maybe our first or our fourth or our fifth, as we enter our 30s, 40s, and 50s. And it's a time for us to reflect and think, yo, how am I going to make progress? What is going to be my company in this world? What is it that I look to draw to? What is it that I look to draw from as a support to me in this world? And the truth is hidden in plain sight. The truth is actually hidden in that Bani, which we have been reading from a young age, which we have heard from a young age, but perhaps we haven't fully explored. We haven't fully understand as to what it actually is. You see, my friends, Japji Sahib is that Bani that will give us Brahm Gyan, will give us knowledge of Vaheguru, will give us knowledge of our true selves. And as we enter 2021, I invite you to reflect upon something that you've heard before, but in a new way. Let's get to know Japji Sahib. Let's get to know Japji Sahib afresh and anew, and not just the sounds, and not just the grammar, and not just the Romanized translations. Let's start listening to the actual conversations that Guru Nanak Dev Ji were having with those Siddhs. Let's listen to those conversations and be wonderstruck with love in our hearts. For wouldn't it be wonderful if we had that relationship with our Guru? Wouldn't it be wonderful if we had that relationship with our Guru, whereby when we hear that Shabad, we can be like, yo, that resonates with my heart. And this is what it means to understand the conversation between Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj and the entire world. Let's take one Pankti from Japji Sahib, which many of you may already know. And if you do, I invite you to drop a thumbs up. And we're going to explore this together and just see how understanding the conversation, the context of it, can really open us up to something that is really quite wonderful and romantic in the true sense of the word as you enter that relationship, that meaningful connection with our Guru. The Pankti we're going to explore together is this. Sacha Sahib Tajnai Pakhya Pau Apar. Sacha Sahib Sajnai Pakhya Pau Apar. And you guys can drop yourself a thumbs up if you've heard the Pankti before. And I invite you, and I presume that probably many of you are more familiar with it than even me. The fact that you guys are dropping a thumbs up tells me two things. I've got 3 thumbs up so far. It tells me, A, that I'm in the right group because you guys understand what Japji Sahib is, and I'm not in some different group talking about martial arts or something like that. But it's also telling me that the app is working and you guys are hearing what I'm saying, for which I am eternally grateful. Maharaj, thank you for allowing this connection to take place. We've got 7 hand drops. But Guru Pyari Sadh Sangat Ji, let's listen to those Shabads with new ears. And what do I mean by that? Let's take ourselves back to Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, and they're speaking with the Siddhs. The Siddhs come to Guru Nanak and they say to Guru Nanak Dev Ji on one occasion, this is just to whet your appetite, to help you have an understanding that will really take you on a journey of discovery, of appreciation in 2021. The Siddhs come to Guru Nanak Dev Ji, and don't forget, their intention is to try and tempt Guru Nanak with their occult powers, that Guru Nanak Dev Ji may be overwhelmed, that they may be tempted and wish that they had these powers and become one with their Siddh Dharam and convert. Unbeknownst to the Siddhs, that Guru Nanak Dev Ji is that form of Vaheguru on this earth, that they are that form of Vaheguru, and that they need none of these occult powers, for they are the giver of all gifts. So they come to Guru Nanak and they say to Guru Nanak Dev Ji, they ask Guru Nanak a question. They say, tell us about the one that you worship, who you call Ram, who you call Krishna, who you call Vaheguru. Tell us about that one. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji replies perfectly. They say, you want to know about my Rab? You want to know about my Vaheguru? They say, I'll tell you about them. And they give a jawab. The jawab that they give is they say, Sacha Sahib. They say that one is Satya, that they are completely true. They are the form of truth. And they are Sahib, that they are the master of all things. In other words, that everything is within their control. Everything is within that hukum of Vaheguru. This Siddhs now not to be undone and looking to always engineer the situation in their favor. They say to Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, they say, okay, you're saying Sacha Sahib, yet how do you realize that one? Because in the Siddh practice, there were many different types of practice that they would undertake. Some would stand on one leg, others would spend extended periods of time in water or hang upside down or deprive themselves of sleep. These are all different practices that the Siddhs would do. Others would fast, others would rub ashes upon their bodies. And so in this way, the Siddhs, they say to Guru Nanak, you're saying that your Vaheguru is a Sacha Sahib. What's the method that you have to employ to get to that Vaheguru? And Guru Nanak Dev Ji again, they perfectly reply. They say, you want to know the method that I employ? You want to know the method that I preach those to enjoin with? And they say, Sadhnai. They say that the way to that Sacha Sahib is through Sadhnai, is through repetition of their true name. Now I'm going to just pause there and repeat that, because we cannot overstate the importance of this teaching. Guru Nanak Dev Ji is saying, you're asking me what practice we should employ to realize Sacha Sahib. The practice is Sadhnai, to repeat their true name. Guru Pyari Sadh Sangat Ji, this is our mandate as we walk upon the path of the Guru, The mandate given to us by the Guru is that we walk, and with every step, with every breath, that we vibrate upon that name Vaheguru. That we vibrate upon that name Vaheguru, because Guru Nanak Dev Ji has given us the instruction that this is the way, this is the marg, this is the path, this is the way that we realize Vaheguru. And it really is so beautiful when we understand the mandate. From a young age, we may have been told by our Bibi, by our Nani, by our Baba, by the elders, we recite the name of God, but we haven't necessarily been told why. And Guru Nanak Bhadshah was to bring that teaching to us, and perhaps for a while it has been lost, but it's coming back now. The teaching is that to recite the name of God is to make you one with God. Bhagat Kabir ji puts it so beautifully. They say, Kabir, tu karta, tu hua, mujh mein raha na ho. Jab apa par ka met gaya, jat dekho, tat tu. Kabir ji says, Kabir, tu karta. I say tu. I repeat your name over and over again. What happens? Tu hua. I become one with you. Isn't that amazing, Guru Pyari Sat Sangat Ji? That we are not just mechanically saying words. We are, in undertaking this gift of repetition of the name of God, we are walking the path. What a gift. We are walking the path whilst residing in our very homes. We are walking the path whilst sitting in the company of our families at the dinner table. What kind of a gift is this, Guru Pyari Sat Sangat Ji? Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj has explained to us that if you want to become one with God, recite that name. Sacha Sahib Sat Nai. Guru Pyari Sat Sangat Ji, we go back to the Siddhs now. The Siddhs not to be undone. They hear Guru Nanak say that the way to God is through the name of God. That the way to Vaheguru is through repetition of that true name, Vaheguru. The Siddhs now, not to be undone, they say to Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, what language is that name written in? What language is it? Is Vaheguru, that name of God that you speak of, is it written in Hindi, Urdu, Farsi, Persian, Sanskrit? You see, the Siddhs were very learned in the worldly sense. They were very educated. They were the Oxford University lecturers of our time. They were the Yale University lecturers of our time. And they had a monopoly on the languages. So the thought was that whatever language Guru Nanak Dev Ji would say, that they would be able to say, aha, we have that language under our belt. We've studied that language. We are masters of that language. So they say to Guru Nanak, what language is it that that name should be written in? What language is that name written in? And Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj says, no. You got it all wrong. You want to know what language that name of Rab is written in? You want to know what language that name of God is written in? They say that Pakya, that language is written in the language of Pao, is written in the language of love. So if you want to realize that Sacha Sahib, Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj is explaining that if you want to realize that Sacha Sahib, we have to recite Tatnai, that true name. And how do we recite that true name, Guru Pyari Sad Sangat Ji? We recite it from a place of love. And so when we visit this Pankti again, Sacha Sahib, Tatnai, Pakhya, Pao Apar, it means something completely new, at least to me it does. And I would invite each and every one of you to reflect upon this and understand that in 2021, whilst we're making resolutions in our minds that we're going to make progress, maybe we're going to make progress in the gym. We've set ourselves targets that we're going to lose weight. Maybe we've set ourselves targets that we're going to save up money and buy a car. We're going to put a down payment for a house. We're going to get that promotion at work. The truth of the matter is, Guru Pyari Sad Sangat Ji, we can make all the progress in this world. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't. What I'm saying to my brothers and sisters across the world, wherever you are listening from, is that if you want to be truly happy, if you want to experience that true love, place a little bit of faith on the teachings of the Guru and make progress on your Simran. Make a commitment that every single day in 2021, henceforth, that we will wake just a little bit earlier and sit and meditate upon the name of God, for that truly is the gift of all gifts. The Siddhs came to Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj once, and they say to Guru Nanak, they say, yo, tell me this one thing. What's the highest place? What's the highest place? And Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj explains that the highest place in this world is where Vaheguru resides. That highest place in beyond this world, the highest place in creation or beyond creation, is where Vaheguru resides. Vada Sahib Ucha Thao, Guru Nanak Dev Ji says. That Vada Sahib, that great one, they reside Ucha Thao at the highest place. The Siddhs asked Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, is there anything higher than that place where Vaheguru resides? And Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, they reply, yes. There is one thing higher still. Even higher than that place where Vaheguru resides, Uche Upar Ucha Now. Even higher than that place where Vaheguru resides is where the name of God resides. Guru Pyari Sad Sangat Ji, Guru Nanak could not have made it any clearer. Guru Nanak Dev Ji is explaining that the highest place reserved for all is that place where Simran is taking place. The highest place of all is where the Naam resides. And so I invite each and every one of us, and I'm talking perhaps primarily to myself here, but let's wake up and understand that everything we've achieved in the years gone by, we searched out those things thinking that they would give us some sort of momentary sustenance, a momentary recompense, if you will, where we would thought we would have been happy. But even after a few days, we start yearning for something else. And the truth of the matter is, Guru Pyari Sad Sangat Ji, insofar as we are looking outwardly in the world to achieve a resolution in this world, insofar as we're looking outwardly in this world to achieve some sort of a resolution, some sort of a success, we'll always be looking for something further still. Because the truth of the matter is, Guru Pyari Sad Sangat Ji, that the true way to happiness is through that Naam. It's through that name that has been given to us by Guru Nanak, that has been delivered from the heavens to us, from the heavens to us by Guru Nanak. That blessed mantra, that if we should wake so early in the morning, and that last part of the night, I should say, that if we should wake in that last part of the night and have an opportunity to vibrate upon that Shabad, that we are so lucky, that our happiness will blossom forth within, that will be so bright that it will outshine any light in this world. And Guru Pyari Sad Sangat Ji, it's so important that we understand that this gift is all ours, it's all there for us to take. And I would invite each and every one of us to just have a little reflection and think, whilst we reflected on the year gone by and the year to come, how much time have we dedicated towards reciting that name of God? Guru Sahib speaks to us like a father to a son, like a father to a daughter, and they say, Sarab Sukha mein paliya, har jebad na koi. They say, Sarab Sukha, all the Sukh in the world, mein paliya, I've received, I've had all of it. They are the king of the entire world. Guru Sahib is explaining to us, though, that Sarab Sukha mein paliya, having received all of these things, har jebad na koi, nothing in this world compares har jebad na koi to that greatness of Vaheguru, to the greatness of that one, which we can experience. And this is the gift that we have, Guru Pyari Sad Sangat Ji, when no one's asking anybody to look into undertaking acts in this world to receive something in the world hereafter. No. Guru Sahib is explaining to us that we can receive that gift of Rab whilst we're alive, that we can receive that blessing, we can receive the opportunity to vibrate upon that Shabad and feel that bliss. And isn't that ultimately what we're all looking for? Whilst we may dress it up with different goals and aspirations, ultimately, isn't it what we are all actually looking for is that connection, is that feeling of comfort, that feeling of contentment? We might dress it up with different things. Some of us might interpret that to mean that we need a new car. Others might interpret that we need to look for a new life partner. But ultimately, all of these things, and I put the word things in inverted commas here, ultimately, all of the things that we say, that we search out, we're actually searching out for these things in the hope that it will give us that inner peace, that inner contentment. And my brothers and sisters, the truth of the matter is that if we was to just put those things in the world to aside for just one moment and concentrate upon that Shabbat, upon that name, ultimately that is what's going to be our support. That is what is our support right now. Guru Sahib explains this to us. Guru Amar Das Ji Maharaj explains this to us. And they say, Sacha Naam Mera Adaro. That in this, that the true support that we have, Mera Adaro, my true support is what? Sacha Naam, that true Naam, that true name. So Guru Pyari Sad Sangat Ji, wow, our time has gone so quick, 25 minutes in, and we've only scratched the surface of what I wanted to speak with you about today. My humble invitation, my brothers and sisters, is if you haven't already heard the katha, that little small snippet of an explanation that we provided of that one pankti, Sacha Sahib Sajna Pakya Pao Apar. That pankti that we just dwelled upon on a surface level is from the katha of Japji Sahib. And my invitation, my humble suggestion to each and every one of you is if you're not already listening to katha, if you're not already listening to katha as part of your daily routine or your weekly routine, that we make an effort to start listening to katha for no reason other than the fact that it will give us that feeling of connection. Because through the katha, that dirt will be removed from us. Through the katha, our understanding of who we really are inside will start to blossom forth. Through the katha, we will get to know our Satguru. That Satguru that we've heard many times speak to us, but perhaps we didn't understand what they were saying. Guru Sahib explains, Sun har katha uthari mail. That just by listening to the katha of Gurbani, just by listening to the Amar katha, that priceless katha of Vaheguru, that all that dirt that is within us, all that which is holding us back from making the progress, will be removed and taken away. Guru Pyari Sad Sangat Ji, in these last few minutes that we have left, I just want to share something with you that I thought was really beautiful that I heard. And we go in these last few minutes that we have together, before perhaps we open up for questions, to the time of to the time when Guru Ram Das Ji Maharaj, when they were getting married. When Guru Ram Das Ji Maharaj, they were getting married, and they were being betrothed, they were being wed to Bibi Pani, the daughter of Guru Amar Das Ji Maharaj. So Bhai Jetha, their name were before they got married, and Bhai Jetha was who their affection. Some historians say that Bhai Jetha were the name that was bestowed upon them. Others say that their name were always Ramdas. In any event, before they were the Guru Ramdas Ji Maharaj, they're getting ready to get married to the daughter of Guru Amar Das Ji Maharaj. And Guru Amar Das Ji Maharaj, during this time, they go and see their future son-in-law, who's already a devoted Sikh, who spent many years serving at the feet of Guru Amar Das Ji Maharaj. And when this happens, Guru Amar Das Ji Maharaj, they've got a relationship with Guru Ram Das Ji Maharaj like a father to a son. Just as we have a relationship with the Guru, as we already do now, like all of us do. When we go before the Guru, we bow before the Guru. And Guru Ram Das Ji Maharaj would have done no less, and they would have bowed exactly in this way. And Guru Amar Das Ji Maharaj, they say to Bhai Jetha, they say, is there any gift that you would like me to give you, in a joking way? Because the joke was that when a female would get married to a male, the female's family in a previous dharam, in a different dharam, the females were considered lower. And that's a whole different conversation. But safe to say that Guru Amar Das Ji Maharaj uplifted the status of females to equal, if not senior to that, of their male counterparts. And so in a joking way, in a sarcastic, sort of almost joking way, Guru Amar Das Ji Maharaj throws this out there that, would you like a dowry from me, O future son-in-law? In jest, in a loving sort of conversation, they say to Guru Ram Das Ji Maharaj, the future Guru, they say, what gift would you have me give, if any? And Guru Ram Das Ji Maharaj, they say, I would definitely take this opportunity. You're asking me if I would like a dowry from you? I will definitely take a dowry from you, O Satguru. And this is the gift that I would like you to give me. And they say, Har ke jan Satgur Satpurkha, Bina Guru Kurpas, Ham Kire Kiram Satgur Sarnai, Kar Daya Nam Pragas, Mere Meet Gurudev Moko Ram Nam Pragas. They say, oh Satguru, Har ke jan Satgur Satpurkha, Bina Guru Kurpas. I've got this benti, I've got this request which I placed before you. I'm just an insect, I'm just a worm, I'm nothing, but I have this request I have for you. Mere meet, my friend, Gurudev, my Guru, Moko Ram Nam Prakas. Give me that name. Give me the blessing of that Naam. Guru Pyari Sad Sangat Ji, Guru Ram Das Ji Maharaj would be that one that would go on to build the biggest kitchen in the entire world, that feeds hundreds of thousands every single day across the world from all different faiths. The biggest kitchen in the world, the free kitchen of Guru Ramdas Ji Maharaj. They achieved great things, the greatest of things. But what was it that was on their list when they could ask the King of all kings for a gift? What was it that Guru Ramdas Ji Maharaj chose to ask for? What was it that they chose to ask from that Satguru, Guru Amardas Ji Maharaj? Mere meet Gurudev, Moko Ram Nam Pragas. I beg of you only one thing, be give me the gift of Simran. Give me the gift of your Naam, of your name. And so again, the example is given to us again and again, like waves crashing upon the rocks, relentlessly over and over again. We are the rocks. And Guru Sahib is giving us the wisdom through the waves over and over again. Be Simran Karya Karo, recite the name of God, vibrate upon the Shabad. Guru Pyari Sad Sangat Ji, as we enter 2021, my humble invitation, my humble suggestion to those that are older and senior before me in this group, that let's make a commitment that 2021 is going to be a year that we meditate more, that we introspect more, that we sit and spend more time with the Naam of the Sadguru more. Let 2021 be a time that we commit to listening to the Gatha of Japji Sahib, that we listen to the complete Gatha, the complete teachings of Japji Sahib, and that we understand through those conversations between Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj and the Siddhs that true meaning of the Shabad. For Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj completely gives us those teachings in Japji Sahib. In the Gatha of Japji Sahib, it will unfold and be made known to you. Let's make 2021 then a year for doing Simran, a year for meditating, a year for listening to Gatha, and of course a year to do seva, to think about how we can serve others. So that's been just over half an hour. I'm not sure how long you would like us to speak for, but I'm keen to always stop before people start falling asleep. So I think I will bring this discussion to an end and open up to any questions that the Sangat may have, and also for you to correct me for any mistakes that I may have made. I think it's important that we're always open to learn from each other as well. So if there are any questions, please feel free to drop them in the question box. 13 of you have given a thumbs up for if you know this Bhakti. Amazing. Glad that you guys all did. Hopefully, with the blessings of the Sadguru, perhaps some of you may have heard the Bhakti before, but perhaps hopefully some of you may have heard it and taken an understanding that perhaps they didn't have of that Bhakti before. Sacha Sahib, Harjanai Bakya, Bawapad. Guru Karan Singh, I'll hand back to you now. Once again, before I go, I ask for your forgiveness and your blessings. You are the Sadh Sangat of Guru Nanak. You are the ones that Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj says that we should be lucky to be in the company of. You are the Sangat of the Guru. So I ask for your forgiveness and your blessings, that one day we can properly merge with that name, that Shabad also. And Guru Karan Singh, if you're there,
Hanji. All right.
Waheguru.
Thank you so much for that amazing Katha Paisab. So the first question we have is from Harman Singh, who says, some people get into big arguments over Gatka being practical in real fights or not. What are your thoughts on this? Should Sikh kids learn Gatka first or another martial arts like boxing, karate, etc.?
That's a really good question. So I spent a lot of time. Martial arts is something I'm really passionate about. I spent a lot of my time learning different arts. As a martial artist, because for those that are martial artists in the group, my particular, so then you can understand my answer. Let me just give it a bit of context. My particular area that I've spent time studying in is an Indonesian martial art called silat, which is a short bladed art which has come out from Malaysia and the Philippines and Indonesia. It's very similar to Shastra Vidya, the traditional Shastra Vidya, which is different, of course, to Gatka. I've spent some time doing Gatka, and I've spent time otherwise in Muay Thai, which is what I'm really passionate about now. Muay Thai, kickboxing, and Silat. So that's the context from which I answer this question, so as to not offend anybody. Personally, bro, I've had this dispute, and I've learned from very, very different people. I would say, honestly, having learned from a various number of different teachers, the real benefit here is not just from the art that you learn, the specific technical art that you learn, but it's the mindset that will be instilled with you through martial practice. And for me, therefore, if you're committed to a martial art and it's going to be physical, as long as there's physical contact, where there's an aggressive, where there is an element of aggressive energy being put towards you that you have to respond to, that will help you to develop your strength and your courage, physically as well as mentally. For me, I think we should get away from these arguments about which is better. It's more about getting off the subs bench and getting in the game. So there are many martial artists that I know that do Gatka, and they're very proficient fighters. They're very proficient defenders of their faith. But more importantly, that you'll notice that in a martial conduct, that people generally have a higher sort in them in their spiritual conduct as well. And so I think what's really important is that it's not whether you're doing Gatka or Shastra Vidya or if you're doing Gatka or Muay Thai. It's the fact that you're in the game. And so many people that argue about whether which art is better or worse. Majority of the people that spend their time in those arguments are not even in the game. They're just sitting on the subs bench. And I think that's really, really frustrating. And a lot of people will use the argument that Gatka, for example, isn't effective as a justification to do nothing. And I think that's really painful and sad. For me personally, I've seen Gatka. I think it could be very effective. It's the beauty about Gatka for me is that in many ways you can learn basic maneuvering in a very short space of time. So you can become very, very proficient in wielding as an infantryman in an army very, very quickly. But it's not something that personally I practice. It's just something that I've learned a few bits. For me personally, on a day-to-day basis for street defense, I would recommend Muay Thai, kickboxing, or Silat because those are two arts that I've spent a lot of time practicing, and I think that they're very, very effective as self-defense techniques on the streets. I hope that answers the question.
So, Paneet Singh, you had a question. Would you like to ask on voice?
Grappling or
Oh,
striking?
yeah, that's pretty much it.
Grappling. So for me personally, I think that striking should be learnt first. Personally, I'll tell you something really interesting. A little bit off topic, but a really interesting analogy I'd like to share with you guys. This is why I'm so passionate about Muay Thai kickboxing. Because for me, this perfectly illustrates it. There was a National Geographic. This is slightly off topic from Sikhi, but I hope you guys don't mind. My other passion is martial arts. I just indulge. If you just indulge me with this analogy that I heard. So National Geographic did a study, and they took these guys that had spent time studying kung fu, which is a very beautiful artistic reflection and of the animal kingdom through martial arts. It's beautiful and it's very, very poetic to look at, and it's in I imagine on some level it's very effective. So, but I never practiced kung fu. They get these kung fu masters, and they've spent many years meditating and on the art of kung fu, and they're like Buddhists, and they're very, very devout in their discipline, and they take them to Thailand, and they put them up against these 12 Muay Thai fighters. Now, the Muay Thai fighters in Thailand, Muay Thai kickboxing is like it's like the national sport, like football, soccer is in London, in England. And these Thai fighters, they fight every week. They literally, it's not like boxing where you have a prize fighting champion like Anthony Joshua or Klitschko. They might fight 2 or 3 times a year. You know, these Thai fighters, they're literally fighting every other week. Some of
Just
them have had like
savage for sure.
500 fights. They're just absolutely savage. But so these guys are like bar fighting. They're fighting for money, you know. And so these Thai fighters, they pair them up against these 12 kung fu masters, and within a minute, each one of the kung fu guys they just get destroyed
Yep.
by the savagery of these kickboxers, right? And they go back and they think about their shortcomings, and they really, really think about implementing. They adapt, they strategize, and after I think it was a year later, the kung fu guys they come back, and they challenge those 12 fighters again to a rematch, and again within a minute, the Thai fighters have just destroyed the bodies of these monks, yeah. And they asked the Thai guys, probably over a drink at the bar, they say, "What? How is it you're able to beat these guys so powerfully?" And the Thai guys, they say something which I thought was really interesting. They say, there's no doubt that the kung fu art is far more high level. It's far more intricate. It's a far more advanced, complicated, expert system. It's far advanced over what we do with the 8 limbs. But the kung fu fighters they cannot deal with the sheer aggression, the sheer forward force of that simple striking system. And so what I learned from that was that a true martial art should develop your mind, and it should develop your mind to such a place whereby even if you have a inferior system than the person that you're going up against, if the practitioner has been made into a piece of steel, they will be victorious. And that is the point. If you look at our history, if you look in Sikh history, like examples in Sikh history, like for example, Bhai Uday Singh and Bhai Bajinder Singh, the two brothers that fought against thousands, collecting the head of the Khan that swore to decapitate Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. Bhai Bajinder Singh, you may have heard, Bhai Uday Singh. These were soldiers that were vastly outnumbered by horsemen that were sitting upon armored horse with the might of the Mughal Empire behind them. They'd been eating meat. Their bodies were tough and strong. They were fighting against hardened soldiers that had the full weight of the Mughal army behind them. Their armor was thick and strong. Their spears would have been sharp. And yet these Sikh were able to overcome them. Why? Because their minds had become steel. And so I go back to that first question. This is why I truly believe this. It's not necessarily which art that you're learning from. I'm not going to sit here and say which art is better or worse. It's about getting off the subs bench and getting in the game and saying, yo, I might be 8 stone. I might be female. I might be 8 stone, a young girl. But I'm going to get in the game and I'm going to learn something that makes me a piece of steel. Because if your mind becomes steel, you're already there, like those TIE fighters. Bit of a long answer, but I hope you understood what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I agree completely. That's true. Like even like the UFC in the beginning when they founded it, a lot of kung fu people came, and that was part of like Bruce Lee's art too. Like Jeet Kune Do is just cutting out a lot of the pseudoscience in martial arts. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but when it comes down to who's gonna win, it's just the basic art of fighting. Like even when I do like Brazilian jiu-jitsu, right? It's like what you said. The people who have been doing it for long, like I've rolled against girls who are probably like 40 pounds or 50 pounds, maybe even more, like less in weight than me, right? But they've been doing it for longer and they're really good. They'll run circles around you. So the main thing is, I agree, whatever you get into, you just need to get into it because it turns
Yeah,
into a passion.
100%. It's essentially it's an opportunity. Whilst people mistake it as physical, it's actually an opportunity to develop your mind. When
Yeah.
you're in a headlock and you're going to tap out because you're scared and experiencing that fear, you get to know a little bit about yourself that you didn't know before. And that for me is a
100%.
passion. And I think when you know your limitations and the next time you go 3 seconds longer in the same headlock, you've made real progress there. And that
Yeah.
really is the benefit of the martial aspect. A lot of people say, so I put up a photo on Instagram. I've got an Instagram account, guys. I'm going to just do a quick shout. It's Amandeep Singh East London. We put up like bite-sized snippets of sticky clips in there and stuff like that. Please check it out. I give it a like and a follow. So I put on the Instagram account, we're putting up all this stuff about all of these Gurbani clips, right? And then one week I put up a photo of me having had in the club Muay Thai fight. And people were messaging me and they were like, yo, that's violence. That's really violent. You shouldn't be doing what's going. Whoa, I thought you were like a religious person, and I couldn't believe how far we have come from our roots. We are the most peaceful. If you look at the Sikh Dharma, right? There's peacefulness in the art of meditation, which is the core of what being a Sikh is. But if you look at history, those people that were unable to defend their peace would always have it taken from them. And only last month we celebrate the Gurbani, the Shaheed Purb of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj. And people need to understand this. You're not a violent person if you learn Shastra Vidya or if you learn Gatka or Kung Fu. You're not a violent person if you do this. You're actually a protector of the peace. And when I put this photo of me of having a Thai fight and I put up a little clip, I saw like family of mine and they were like, "Yo, what's with the video, man?" And I was like, "Have we really come that far? Like, have we really like? Obviously, they were coming from an affectionate, caring place, but the point really is that we have to remember who we are, not just as spiritual people, but as those that protected the spirit realm of those people that had lost the ability to defend it themselves, like the Kashmiri Pandits, those 5,000 Pandits from Kashmir. They came begging at the door of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj. because they were a tega. They were that form of the sword.
That's true. Like even I think Prateen Pant Prakash, um, Singhs are described as Jat Goats Singhan Ki Danga. Like that's where we came from. There's a duality of being a Sikh. You have to be a Sant and Sipahi, but if we lose one aspect, it's kind of we're losing the plot, right?
Yeah, I saw something on social media I thought was really beautiful, and it said, "I'd rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war." And the analogy is saying, like, I'd rather be a Shastardhari Gursik, gardening, wearing a bana in my garden, tending to the potatoes in the garden, right? Than be a gardener stuck in the midst of a war. It's like you haven't got to be a violent person, but you should be always be able to defend the peace of others. And I think that's a great honor as a Sikh. When we tied the star, we are tying the start of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, of the start of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj, and we should have that. We should have that the opportunity to be able to stand up against injustice should it come in front of us. And I truly believe that, man. Like this is not just a uniform. It's not just a look. It's not a fashion statement. For me, it's a real honor and a privilege to tie the star. But it does come with that responsibility that if it comes on, you should be able to deal with it. Now, a lot of people wouldn't agree with that, but that's just my personal take. I think that we should, as good Sikhs, we should be able to always deliver justice if we see injustice in front of us.
Definitely.
I think I haven't got any more questions. I hope I can find everybody away.
I have one question. It's a verbal question. So you know how oftentimes when we say stuff like, hey, Nam Japo, right, like meditate on Vaheguru and stuff, a lot of people they've become desensitized to it because we say it so much, but it's a very big thing, Nam Japna bahut badi cheez hai, right? How do we kind of get to those types of people who are tired of hearing it all the time and who sit down and do it but it doesn't work for them? And so how do we get to those types of people? How do we show them the
Bro,
significance of it? What would you say?
But that is an amazing question. I'm so glad you asked that question. So, look, it's really important that we don't make assumptions about where people are at in their jivan. So, when we have a habit as Gursikhs, and sorry, I should take that back. I have a habit of assuming that because we're living a certain life, we just assume that everybody knows what we know, and we make that assumption. Really, as you 100% pointed out, a lot of people just don't know. And how do we get to those people that don't know? And I think it's really important to do what people like Experience Sikhi in the States, Sikh to Inspire in the UK, Basics of Sikhi, Guru Granth Sahib Ji Academy are doing. And what they're doing is they're taking short teachings that we take for granted, and they're spending a great deal of time talking about those things which may have already heard. So when we were doing the discourse earlier before we about Japji Sahib, I'm pretty sure that there are learned Gursikhs in this group that probably have heard that. But I'm not going to make that assumption that they have. And so I said things like, if you've heard this before, hear it again with new ears. Because when we talk about things on the basis that everybody knows this, we're actually missing out 98% of the people. 98% of people that comes to the Gurdwara don't know Naam Japo. So we have to explain that in a way that's endearing, in a way that perhaps we didn't receive as when we were younger. And I remember taking Amrit years ago. Nobody told me what Japji Sahib was. It took years and years of reciting Japji Sahib, and then eventually I'd come across a playlist, a Larivar Katha playlist on Japji Sahib, and it would change my life. So I think what we've got to do is we've got to take the opportunities, like, for example, Sukhmani Sahibs at Gurdwara or Anand Garages, where 98% of people that are coming to that program aren't coming because of their love for the Guru. They're coming perhaps because the families invited them. And at places like Anand Garages and Sukhmani Sahibs, taking the opportunity there where there's 200 Sangat to just give a really basic, simple teaching. Be at risk of repeating yourself. Don't be afraid to repeat yourself. Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj, they repeat themselves on some issues over and over again to get through to our minds. They speak to us with repetition many, many times, saying the same topics in different ways over and over again in a beautiful way. So I think it's about repeating it and not being afraid to assume that others may have heard what you're saying, but saying it again with new eyes and new ears, and hopefully catching them at Anand Garages and Sukhmani Subs and saying, hey guys, before we do this Sukhmani Sahib part, Let me just tell you a few things about Guru Arjan Dev Ji you may not have known. Let me tell you a few things about Sukhmani Sahib that you may not have known. In full fear of the fact that they may have heard, some of these people may have heard these things, but you'll be surprised how many come up to you afterwards and go, "Yo, I've been going to Sukhmani Sahibs for years. Nobody explained this to me, bro. Thank you so much." Does that make sense, bro?
Haji, Haji. We have another question from Harman Singh. He says, any favorite shastras that you like carrying on you for everyday life? So like, probably like aside from your kirpan, like any other shastras you like to carry or anything like that?
I've got a beautiful collection of gare, bro. A beautiful collection of gare, and I can show you that. I can't show you on this app, but I've collected some really beautiful gare. I think gare are a really decent shastra to have. That they are very very practical because shastra is only as good as you are familiar with it. So if you pick up a shastra every now and again, you won't be very familiar with it. But gare you wear on your wrist all the time, so your familiarity with that object, unbeknownst to you, is very high because subconsciously you're in contact with it all the time. So it becomes like an extension of your body. So it makes sense for that gada to be a weapon. I mean, these days I wear a thin surblock gada, but I've got a collection of gada at home, and when we're gonna should ever there be a need, that would be very close to hand. So other than the Gurbani, it would be the Kare, bro.
So I have a question. So you said you do Filipino martial arts. I missed what you said. Did you say like Eskrima or Kali or something like that?
Eskrima and Kali are very different. They're
Oh,
primarily they're primarily stick based.
yeah, yeah,
Although
correct.
there's an element of blade, but it's really not. It's really not bladed. If I think people
Hmm.
just make it bladed because they want to sort of get more students, but primarily the Philippines are responsible for the stick-based Kali and the Filipino Eskrima and stuff like that. The art that I practice is called Silat, S I
Silat. Okay, okay.
S I L
So
A
you
T.
guys use like karambits and
Yeah, so
ganunting and stuff like that?
the karambit belongs to Silat. It comes from
Oh, okay.
Silat. And
Okay.
if you type it on YouTube, you'll see some beautiful examples. There's lots of different styles. The style that I learned was a style called Haramel Silat, which is tiger Silat, very low. So it comes out of an area of land where the grass was very high, and it
Hmm.
emanates the animals of the tiger. And from my experience, I learned Shastra Vidya before that from a guy who's not very popular these days. I don't. He did some
I know,
pretty
I know.
pretty.
Does his name
I'm
start
not
with
very
an N?
happy. I'm not gonna. Yeah, yeah, it does. But his Prachara's way off. He
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
really like anything. I mean, going there, it was like being in a negative, very negative environment. But the video, I thought the video was very good. So we endured
I agree.
the we endured the negativity. I look back on that with regret actually because the logic I employed. Here's something I'd like to share with the Sangat. The logic I employed was, hey, it's okay if it's a negative place where they're doing lots of Nindya, as long as we're learning Shastra Vidya. And I think that's a really bad attitude to be honest. The primary shastra that we have is our consciousness. Yeah,
Hmm.
the primary shastra that we have is our consciousness. And if we blunt that in searching for a physical a martial awareness, that's just in my mind, I'd say it's pretty stupid. So I went there with a very two-dimensional view, and I think a lot of things did, thinking, hey, it's okay. We'll ignore all the bad stuff. We'll just learn the good stuff. And I think that that's just really, really irresponsible to your own mind. We should stand at the door of our mind and be very careful what we let our mind be exposed to. And I went there to learn avidya, and I would leave the class feeling drained because there was so much negativity there. And so I would say that no matter, whilst we talk about Sant Sapahi, for me personally, the Sant aspect should never be sacrificed for the Sapahi aspect. Never. Because the whole Sapahi aspect, if you think about it, is to protect saintlyhood, right? And if you throw away your saintlyhood in learning a martial art, it just defies any sort of logic. I learned that the hard way. I spent many years, I think, in regression in a very negative environment, and I wish that upon nobody. Wherever you are, I saw something the other day, and it was when you're in company and then you leave that company, have a moment to just check yourself, see how you feel. Let your feelings guide you. If you feel drained, if you feel like if you feel worse off for being in that company, then you should really consider whether you put yourself through that every day. Because we need to be fit, healthy, right? I never
Definitely.
thought I'd be talking about that guy in this conversation, but yeah, I haven't said anything. I wouldn't say anything disrespectful. I still learned from that place. I just regret. If I could go back, I would go back, and I wouldn't spend myself in any negative place. for the benefit of any martial vidya, if that makes sense. Hope nobody's been offended by what I've just said there, but
Not at
Don't
all.
worry,
Not at
Baji.
all.
No one's offended. The song is very open.
Yeah.
Satsangji, if you guys have any more questions, you guys can unmute your mic and speak to the speaker directly, or you guys can put it in the question box. Or if you guys like to make your own statements, give your own thoughts on the new year, on martial arts, health, fitness, anything, weapons, shastras, anything, feel free to do it now. It's an open conversation. Paneet Singh or anyone, if you guys want to talk more about it, feel free to. It's an open discussion.
Waheguru.
Faisal, I had a quick question about regarding training. So, uh, I've trained in Muay Thai before, on and off. But with and I've been wanting to get back into it, but with the lockdown, it's a bit hard. What would you recommend? How would you recommend keeping up your training when you can't really go to a studio,
So
and you're stuck at home?
So I visited Canada once, and you guys aren't short of any land. Unlike here on the island, yeah, we don't have much space. So you guys have got huge, like these big plots of land, and I'd say if you've got room in a basement, buy a bag, bro. Your bag will be your best friend. I spend more time speaking to my to my punch bag in the back than some of my friends. And I think if you buy a bag, that again, going back to that the analogy, the National Geographic analogy, when you're punching that bag, it sends a vibration back through your body, which is very similar. Well, it's quite close to physical altercation. So when you're striking, your triceps will feel that push back from the bag, and I think bag work is really massively underestimated. Bag work is a really good solitary workout. Three 5-minute rounds on the bag with stretching if you're getting older. Stretching and bag work, I think, is a really good workout. If you are doing a lot of bag work, though, make sure you're eating lots of protein. Otherwise, your body will start to wither away. I lost a lot of weight just doing bag work, and you don't want to lose all your strength and just become like a transparent being just because you're not been eating. So if you do a lot of bag work, watch out for losing weight because it's really really high intense interval training. So make sure you're eating lots and lots of protein to maintain your muscle mass. Otherwise, you'll get injured.
Do you have a recommendation on the type of bag specifically?
Oh yeah, definitely. There's a bag. It's called oh God, what's it called? It's a floor to ceiling bag. It's the one that everybody's got in all of the pictures. I got the same bag. It's
Baji,
anybody
later,
know?
if you find the link, you can post it in the lifestyle section, and then just tag Irmanjeet Baji. That way that
Cool.
way when you find the link, you can just post it.
Everlast.
Yeah, cool.
Right.
No, not Everlast. No, Everlast is for. But it's called a banana bag. I forgot the name of the company. I'll send a link to Gurkaran Singh on Instagram because that'll be easier for me. I'll send a link to Gurkaran Singh. Is that right? And you can post it up.
Yes, of course, Hanji. No problem. Yep. And would anyone else like to give any thoughts on the new year or martial arts or anything, guys?
Gurkaran Singh.
Haji.
Just in closing off, then I just want to say, look, seriously, from the other side of the Atlantic, I'm really grateful that you invited me. I'm still a learner. I consider myself probably junior to everybody in the group here. I'm grateful that you invited me here. But if I could just repeat, because we've had so much time since the actual discourse, I'm really passionate about this. That I've been in a very negative place in the past, and listening to Katha will really help you out. Wherever you are in life, if you're feeling anxious, if you're in a negative place, if you're feeling lonely, if you find yourself outwardly putting on a smile, but inwardly you're not in a great place, I can't recommend this more. Start listening to Gatha every single day. If you could listen to the Ladivar Gatha of Japji Sahib, that would be an amazing achievement in 2021. It will be something that will really be your company. And I wanted that to just not be lost because we spoke about so many other things. If I'll send you a link to with Guru Sahib's Kirpa, we were very fortunate enough to have a chance to complete the Ladivar Gatha of Japji Sahib, which is a playlist now. It's on SoundCloud. So if you type in Amandeep Singh East London Japji Sahib Gatha, we've put up a 45-track playlist going through each of the conversations between the Siddhs and Guru Nanak. It's something I'm really passionate about because it's changed my life going through that education. So my humble request to the Sangat, if you have the time, listen to the Gatha. if you can listen, if your Punjabi is there, you can listen to Gyani Kulwant Singh Ji's Japji Sahib Gatha, again amazing, or by Paramjit Singh Ji's Gatha on the Guru Granth Sahib Ji Academy. They've also completed the complete Gatha of Japji Sahib. I'd really recommend those as resources as company for you in life. I want to just repeat that in case it got lost in the midst of the other things that we
Haji,
spoke about.
we got
The
the
less
link.
important
So
things.
we put the link in text for voice as well as question box, and we added it to our resource section here on Discord as well. Yeah, and if you have
Amazing.
any other
That's
links or
amazing.
anything, feel free to forward them to me and I'll post them. And Satsang ji, please follow Amandeep Singh ji on Instagram. It's Amandeep_Singh_East_London. And the link to his Instagram will be posted in text for voice and other places as well, so you guys can find it there. Yeah, any closing thoughts, Bhai Sahib? We really loved your talk today. It was amazing. Thank you so, so much for coming.
I'm really grateful. Hopefully, with Guru's Kirpa, when this is finished, I've got friends that's moved to Vancouver from London. His name's Amandeep Singh, and you guys know Amandeep Singh Gill. So he's invited me to come and stay with him. So hopefully, Guru's Kirpa, we're going to come and visit you guys. Hopefully, get put a few faces to the voices I've heard today. It'd be wonderful to see you guys. Maybe we'll do a bit of training out there. Maybe we could do a CLET seminar or something with the things and the singing here.
Yeah, that would
That would
be
be cool.
amazing. Just send me a message whenever you're here in Vancouver and Canada area. We'll set something up.
That'd be wonderful. Do like a seminar, maybe do some kata as well. We'd be blessed just to come and see you guys. Would be a blessing. Hear great things coming out of where you guys are doing there. So looking forward to see you guys.
Haji, thank you so much, Baji.
Waheguru
Ji
Ji
ka
ka
Khalsa,
Waheguru Ji
Khalsa,
ka Khalsa,
Waheguru
Waheguru
Ji
Ji
ki
ki
Fateh.
Fateh.
Waheguru Ji ki Fateh.